On the outskirts of a bustling Mexican city, there rises what appears to be nothing more than a grassy hill, crowned by a charming yellow church, whose spires gleam in the sunlight. Children play at its base, vendors sell snacks nearby, and life flows on, unaware of the colossal secret slumbering beneath. For hidden inside this green mound is not soil and stone alone, but the heart of an ancient giant, the largest pyramid on Earth by sheer volume. Built layer upon layer by civilizations long vanished, this monumental structure lay disguised for centuries, mistaken for a natural hill by generations who never guessed they were walking atop a man-made wonder. Known as Tlachihualtepetl, or the handmade mountain, the Great Pyramid of Cholula is so vast that entire city blocks could fit within its footprint. And yet, astonishingly, most of the world has never heard its name. The mystery you need to know now, and the truth that makes Cholula feel like a buried city of time, is that this single mound is not one building, but many. A palimpsest of at least 4 major construction stages and multiple earlier phases, packed one inside another like layers of memory. But archaeologists have found evidence of repeated building, collapse, rebuilding, and ceremonial reinvention stretching across centuries. So much so that modern explorers tunnel beneath it and uncover entire painted rooms, plazas, and sacrificial deposits that rewrite what we thought we knew about pre-Hispanic central Mexico. Start with scale. If you measure by height alone, the Egyptian pyramids win the headline space, but measure by volume and Cholula becomes the giant in the room. The base alone measures about 450 by 450 meters, giving it a footprint larger than 9 football fields put together. Its total volume is estimated at 4.45 million cubic meters, dwarfing the Great Pyramid of Giza's 2.5 million cubic meters. That comparison is not just trivia, it forces a rethink of what pyramid can mean, and how thousands of hands raised mud, brick, and earth over generations to create a monument that, until the 20th century, was hidden under vegetation, and, ironically, protected by a church. When Hernán Cortés and his forces marched into Cholula in 1519, they found a city shimmering with dozens of temples. Chroniclers claimed there was one for every day of the year. The pyramid itself had been a sacred mountain for centuries, dedicated to Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent god of wind and learning. But the arrival of the Spaniards turned it into the backdrop for one of the most infamous massacres of the conquest. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of unarmed nobles and citizens were slaughtered in the central plaza. Temples were burned. In the aftermath, the colonial regime placed a Baroque church, the Church of Our Lady of Remedies, right on top of the pyramid's summit. It was both a symbolic act of domination and paradoxically a form of preservation. But the real revelations are underground. Since the 1930s, archaeologists have bored exploratory galleries into the pyramid. Today, those passageways total several kilometers. Inside them are intact facades, stairways, deposits of offerings, and honestly, some of the most spectacular murals ever found in Mesoamerica. The longest known pre-Columbian mural in Mexico, called The Drinkers, stretching nearly 57 meters and depicting a vivid feast of figures, cups, and ritual behavior. Some wear elaborate headdresses, others raise hands in gestures that could signify blessing or intoxication. This was not just decoration, it was storytelling in pigment, a sacred narrative painted directly onto the walls of a god's house. Peel back Cholula layer by layer and you see a long, complex narrative. The earliest construction phase dates back to around the 3rd century BCE. Later builders, possibly influenced by the mighty city of Teotihuacan to the north, encased the earlier pyramid in a larger one, repeating the process several times over the centuries. Every phase of construction at Cholula had its own unique architectural style. Some sections featured the talud tablero design, with their characteristic slopes and panels, while others were built with these rounded adobe corners. Archaeologists have actually recorded at least 7 distinct layers of construction in certain parts of the pyramid, and well, each layer stands as a clear statement of both power and piety. There are legends that say the pyramid was built by giants. In Nahua mythology, the giant Zelua survived a great flood, and wanting to honor the gods, decided to pile up adobe bricks into a mountain that would reach the sky. Whether you take these stories as myth or metaphor, the sheer scale of the pyramid definitely feels superhuman. Oral traditions also connect Cholula to cosmic cycles, with its alignment possibly linked to the surrounding volcanoes, Popocatépetl and Tlachihualtepetl, which really do dominate the horizon like silent guardians. But archaeologists have uncovered offerings that point to long-distance trade, like shells from the Gulf of Mexico obsidian that came all the way from the Valley of Mexico in ceramics, showing influences from far-off cultures. All of these finds suggest that Cholula was far from an isolated center. It was actually a hub in a network that stretched right across Mesoamerica. Hundreds of burials, some with really ornate grave goods, underline its role as a ceremonial and political heart. The buried elite were often interred with objects meant to serve them in the afterlife. Things like jade beads, carved bone, and even, food remains. Yet despite decades of work, much of the pyramid remains unexcavated. Its immense size, the fragility of adobe construction, and the living city around it all limit large-scale digs. This means that vast portions of the pyramid are still mysteries just waiting to be revealed. Every new tunnel risks destabilizing parts of the structure, so archaeologists proceed slowly, balancing curiosity with preservation. But Cholula's survival is a story of paradoxes. The Spanish conquest aimed to erase its indigenous significance. But by capping it with a church and leaving much of it buried, they inadvertently preserved a treasure for future generations. Modern Cholula residents live with this heritage every day. Their markets, festivals, and daily routines unfold in the shadow of a structure that, honestly, predates their city by over 2 millennia. Today visitors can explore a small portion of the tunnels, feel the cool, dry air and walk along ancient corridors lit by dim lamps. Above ground, the church's bright domes glint in the sunlight, while Popocatépetl smolders on the horizon, a reminder that this is a landscape of fire, earth, and memory. Ground-penetrating radar surveys have revealed anomalies suggesting more buried walls and rooms still hidden deep within, tantalizing hints of discoveries yet to come. So why does Cholula matter? Because it challenges our sense of scale, time, and cultural memory. It reminds us that history is layered, that civilizations build upon each other, not just physically, but spiritually, and that the most extraordinary wonders can hide in plain sight. Next time you see a hill, ask yourself, is it truly just a hill, or the patient slumber of a forgotten world waiting to be uncovered?